Hello and welcome to Level 2, Session 2 of the Berklee Music Education and Special Needs Study Group. You're in for a real treat today. I'm Dr. Rhoda Bernard. I'm the founding managing director of the Berklee Institute for Arts Education and Special Needs. I introduced you to our work last time. I'm going to take care of some preamble today. We will turn things over to Rhianon Gutierrez, our presenter, for the bulk of the time, and then at the end we'll do some logistics. So the preamble that I wanted to share with you today has to do with our Able Assembly Conference. I've gotten a lot of questions about our upcoming Able Assembly Conference, and I wanted to give you some information about that. So I'm going to share my screen in a different way and see if I can find Google Chrome. There. Okay. So this is the conference website for our Able Assembly Conference. So at the Berklee Institute for Arts Education and Special Needs, this is our 10th in 2021, 10th annual Able Assembly Arts Better the Lives of Everyone Conference. And it focuses on arts education in all art forms and people with disabilities in all populations. Normally, our conference is in April, and in 2020, we were supposed to have our conference April 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And then, of course, the pandemic hit, and we had to make a whole lot of changes midstream. So we took that conference and moved it online and held it in October, and it was extremely successful. And we've used a very similar format and the same platform, actually, for this current expression. So now we're back in April. Typically, our conferences have not had a theme, but the discussions that we had in the synchronous discussions last October led to a lot of folks talking about how more needed to be shared and discussed regarding issues of intersectionality. So we took that as our charge, and the theme for the 2021 Able Assembly is intersectionality, disability, and arts education. And we had to plan the conference on a much shorter time frame than we normally do, because we announced the date in October and only had 6 months to plan. But we were able to get some phenomenal responses to our call for proposals. So much so that we have 16 breakout sessions on the conference weekend, and then other sessions that are part of a digital learning series that will be taking place over the entire calendar year on a monthly basis. So this website is for the conference weekend, and I can give you the URL for the website in the chat. I hear that there's issues with my sound. I'm not doing anything different, so hopefully my sound will correct itself. So this is the conference website, and it shows that we have 2 days of sessions. Everything is made fully accessible with ASL interpretation of the live sessions, and everything is captioned. And we start each day with a keynote. On Saturday, our keynote is Emmeline Bingham, a conductor on the autism spectrum from Vanderbilt University. Then we have a pre-recorded musical performance. And then there's a 3-hour period where you can attend these pre-recorded 20-minute sessions, as many as you wish. And the entire conference is recorded, and all registrants get access to the recordings for a good period of time afterwards as well. And then at 4 o'clock, we have a synthesis session where the presenters from that day, including the keynote, are there, and attendees and the presenters have a discussion that's facilitated by one of our facilitators. And then we transition to that, from that directly to grab a cocktail and let's network. And we have just an informal networking session. The same format happens on Sunday the 11th. We will start with Antoine Hunter's keynote. He is a deaf dancer, and he's going to have a lot to share about pushing accessibility for deaf and disabled students. And then a musical performance by Adam Walden on the cello. And then, again, an array of 20-minute pre-recorded sessions, followed by the synthesis and the networking session. That's a good outline of what you can expect from the conference. The digital learning series drops, the first session on that will drop May 1st, and the digital learning series is available to everyone who is registered for the conference. And there'll be monthly sessions, all different art forms, and a lot of hands-on teaching strategies. The very first digital learning series session will be on May 1st, which is a Saturday, and I will drop then, and it will feature Adam Goldberg, who does wonderful work in New York City with students on the autism spectrum and iPads, and Pete Sparks, who is at Drake Music Scotland and does fantastic work on inclusive ensembles and adaptive notation for students with disabilities to participate in music. And they're going to do a music technology session that will drop, as I said, on May 1st. So that gives you a broader idea of what the Able Assembly is. I put the registration and information URL in the chat. I sent you some information in the email, but people have been asking more questions, and I wanted to give you that information. So today we're going to be doing a deep dive into universal design for learning. And we have Rhianon Gutierrez, who I don't yet see on our list with us. Hopefully she is not having tech issues and getting to us. But we will be doing a deep dive into that with her. So someone has now asked another question that I can answer while we wait for Rhianon, and that is about our Master of Music and Music Education. Yes, the Master of Music and Music Education with the Autism Concentration and the General Master's Program and the Graduate Certificate in Music Education and Autism all require an audition on an instrument. It's 5 minutes of your choice of music. So it's not a strict requirement in terms of the repertoire, but it is 5 minutes of your choice of music on an instrument. And that is a required part of the application process. So the application includes a form with demographic information, a writing sample in response to an essay prompt, 2 recommendations, your resume, and an interview and audition. And the audition is, as I said, 5 minutes of your choice of music on your choice of instrument. We've had people audition successfully playing children's songs and things that they use to teach. We've also had all different cultures represented and a wide range of instruments represented. So it's really about our gauging musicianship as part of the application process. So that is the answer to that question. Great. So we are to be turning things over to Rhianon, and I don't see an email from her, and I don't see her on our list of people. I'm a little concerned that we may have an issue. So what we're going to do is I am going to share a video with you from our Able Day Sessions Summer Music Program final performance of Proud Mary. And while that's happening, I'm going to do some investigation and see if we can fix whatever the technical issue might be for Rhianon. So let me share my screen again and get you that. So here comes Proud Mary. Enjoy this.
And every night and day, I never lost 1 minute of sleep, worrying about the way things might have been. Big wheel keep on turning, Proud Mary keep on burning, rolling, rolling, rolling on the river. Lake in Memphis, pumped a lot of pain down in New Orleans, but I never saw the good side of the city till I hitched a ride on the riverboat Queen. The wheel keep on turning, Proud Mary keep on burning, rolling, rolling, rolling on the river. Big wheel, keep on turning. Proud Mary, keep on burning. Everybody! Rolling, rolling, rolling down the river. If you come down to the city, bet you're gonna find people who need. You don't have to worry if you got no money. People on the river can happy to give. Big wheel, keep on turning. Proud Mary, keep on burning. Rolling, rolling, rolling on the river. Rolling, rolling, rolling on the river. Rolling, rolling, rolling on the river.
So, oh, that video seems to keep going.
Feel free to listen to this Berklee.
There we go. Okay. Let me get back to us. So that's a video from our Able Day Sessions Summer Music Camp program, which is a week-long summer day camp for people ages 9 and up with disabilities. We do 2 sessions of that back to back, and it has always been in person. And then last summer, we didn't hold the camp, but we are holding it remotely this year. I am not sure what is keeping Rhianon. I have reached out. She must be having some very significant technical difficulties. So what I'm going to do is vamp by taking what we would have talked about at the end of the session and doing it now. And hopefully by then she'll have solved her issue. And if she hasn't solved her issue, we will move to plan C. So let me share my screen again and talk a little bit about logistics. So this will get us ahead of the game at the end. This is the same slideshow that you saw on the first session. So I'm going to click through a couple of these. This is introductions, and you don't need to see that. And get to logistics. And let's just take a look at this again and make sure we're all on the same page. So these are the synchronous sessions that are scheduled for the study group. We are on March 20th. As you know, we meet every 2 weeks for the 2 blocks of time. And the following Monday is when the videos are processed and ready for me to send them. So this coming Monday, as was the case 2 Mondays ago, you will receive the videos from the sessions, the slides from the sessions, and links. I'll send the project ideas link document again for those of you who need to revise it or haven't filled that out yet. And there'll be a new between session engagement document that we'll also do. And I know there's some questions about that, so I'll get to that in a minute. That's about the emailed recording. This is an important one. If you want to receive a certificate of participation, which in Massachusetts allows for professional development points, I don't know how that translates into your home district if you are not in Massachusetts. That's definitely a question for the folks where you are. But in order to get credit for full participation, that includes 18 hours of sessions, attendance at 18 hours of sessions. The sessions can be level 1, level 2, or a mixture of both. They can be synchronous or asynchronous. There is also a Google document. I sent it out for between session engagement, and there'll be a different one for each of the 6 days. And that is a place for you to write questions and comments and reflections from the session that you saw. And then your job is to create and present at the last session a study group project. We will not send out the certificates of participation until after all the sessions have taken place, because it requires full participation. So there's a question about the projects. The project ideas document is a Google document where I've asked you to put your name and write the idea that you're thinking about, or ideas that you might be thinking about for your projects. The point of the project is to apply some aspect of what you learn in this study group to your own teaching situation. Some people create curriculum or design activities. Some people develop particular modifications or adaptations. Some people develop assessments. Some people try new approaches and document what they notice. Some people do case studies. Some people create social stories. There's a wide range of things that you can do that will apply something that you learn with us to your own situation in a meaningful way. And we're not expecting that that everybody, have a complete finished product. They're works in progress. We have 12 weeks together. They are snapshots of what you've done, and they have all different kinds of deliverables. Depending on what you're going to do, that will be what you will use to document your project. And in our final 2 sessions that happen on May 15th, there will be an opportunity for you to present your project. And I and Vicki Lauricchio will be there to provide feedback to the projects. And if people cannot attend synchronously, but want their projects to be shared, they can share them with me, and I can make sure they get shared out to the group. You want to start thinking about your project now. So someone said they didn't get the document. The link to the Google document for project input and ideas was sent with the video recordings on Monday, the Monday right after the March 6th session. So that, and I had to send it out as one video, and then I sent it, one email, and then I had to split it into 2 emails because some of your email servers were bouncing it back because the message was too big. So I've learned now with all these attachments, I have to send it in 2 emails, which I will do again, but that's where it is, and it's going to be sent out again so that you'll have a chance to access it. So everybody will have access to this document. You want to start thinking about it now. Your ideas might morph and change, and that's totally fine. But you want to start giving it some thought now. Are there any questions that you can write in the chat about what I've just gone through? Yes, the project can be a mix of mainstream and neurodiverse students. How do you go about choosing a project idea? By thinking about what is going to be applicable to your own teaching situation. That's how we come up with a project. So thinking about what you're learning here and how it's most applicable to your own particular situation. That's why I can't really tell you what your project should be. It should really stem from your work and your teaching situation. Any other questions? So I'm going to look and see if we have Rhianon here. And Carol, I may be calling on you to pinch hit. You are ever so generous. And I'm quite familiar with your work, and you'd be a fabulous pinch hitter. So Rhianon is not here, and I have not gotten any email, text, voicemail update. You can do one project with a group, Mrs. Van Ellis. So if there's a group of you, we've had joint projects from people in the same district, or sometimes people who teach the same students. Not a problem, not a problem. And I'm not sure what that phone number is, Carol, that you're sending. Oh, in case I need to call her. That's very kind. So here's what we're going to do. Carol has graciously offered to give a presentation that she just presented on inclusive practices in music preschool teaching that addresses universal design for learning. So Carol, I would love to have you. I can change your rights in the system right now to make you a presenter. Let me get to how I do that. You've now been promoted so that you can share your screen, and I'll stop my share. And we're going to turn it over to Carol, who is generously pinch hitting and I know has some terrific information to share. Carol, thank you. I appreciate it. And you've got a couple hours if you want to use them.
Can you hear me okay, Rhoda?
Yes.
Okay, so Rhoda, I'm going to actually log in on my laptop as well, so that I can actually present, because right now I'm on my phone. Let me tell you how this session came about. This session came about because the Early Childhood Music Education Association was doing a variety of lunch and learns, basically these practice lunch and learns for music educators, early childhood music educators, to support them in their work. And I asked if I could present with my colleague, Dr. Angela Guerriero from Westchester University, on inclusive practices in online learning for music educators. And I'm trying to do two things at once, like log into my laptop so that I can.
I just heard from Rhianon and she has an emergency. So your stepping in is super awesome. So
I'm happy to do it. Okay. Unmute my speaker. Here we go. Here we go. Okay.
Thanks everyone for your patience. We're in for a real treat.
Oh, give me one question. Oh, sorry.
So Carol's working out the technology. So one question came up, are we going to be able to see the original presentation as well? Yes, Rhianon will record the presentation that she was planning to give for today, and I will get it sent out to you. So we're getting an extra presentation with Carol sharing her expertise. And it looks like she's logging off and logging back on. So I'll come back to video land until she does that. We are rolling with it. We are improvising. I have seen Carol present a number of times, so she's going to be a really terrific presenter. There's something in the chat. Okay. I will make, oh, so Carol's back and needs to be made a presenter. Easy peasy. I don't see you, Carol. Oh, does it say Carol Ann? It calls you Carol Ann here. That's why. I'm looking for you a different way. Here we go. Rejoin the webinar as a panelist. You should be all set at this point. And Angela. Okay, let me take Angela. Angela, you're up as well. And I'm excited for what we're going to learn this afternoon as well.
You are so, can you hear me okay, Rhoda? Can you hear me okay?
We hear you, but we can't see. Let me see.
Yeah, I'm starting the video, but I can't because the host has stopped it.
That is so strange because I just made you a presenter. So now I don't see you as Carol Ann at all. I see you're not on my,
pinky.
you're not on my list.
I'm not on your list. I may be in your participants list.
Ah, you're here. And here comes your video.
Yay! That's so exciting. I'm super excited. And we are so lucky that Angela is also here. I didn't have a chance to ask her permission if I could present this session. Um, but
It's totally fine. I'm here if you want me to pinch
I-
it with you.
I've given you video rights, Angela. If you want to pop in, you're welcome to. All right.
Carol Ann, do you have the presentation available?
yeah, I'm opening it right now. I just I just needed to I have to switch over to my other account. Wow, hi everybody.
Carol, maybe you can introduce yourself and tell people a little bit about you and your work. And I'm going to get my video off so they can focus on you.
Angela, you go first so I can go ahead and get this up.
Okay, so I'm joining you from my kitchen. I wasn't expecting this, so hello everyone. Carol Ann and I have been working together for quite some time on a lot of different projects, and this was a recent presentation that we did. I am a music therapist and a music educator. So I have a private practice, Tempo Music Therapy Services in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. And I also teach at Westchester University in Pennsylvania. I teach adapted music education and in the new music therapy program there. And inclusion and universal design have been a passion of mine for a number of years. And we came together for this presentation with Carol Ann, who is an expert in early childhood music therapy. And I'll let her take it there.
Okay, so yes, I've been a music therapist for about 25 years. I've known Angela for about 20 of them. Can you still hear me? Okay, good. And I work for Music Together as their manager of research and special needs services. In that capacity, I have been training and providing mentoring to early childhood music specialists. Some of them have music education backgrounds, some do not, on inclusive practices for birth to 5-ish and beyond in their Music Together classes and Rhythm Kids and their in-school practices. And I also designed the Music Together Within Therapy program model, which is specifically for clinicians who want to more intentionally include music in their practice for kids with disabilities. And now my headphones are dying, so now I have to find new ones. This is really, really, really silly. Angela, go ahead. I'm going to advance the slide 2 times, and you can start with that part.
Okay, so this is a panel that I absolutely love because I really think it demonstrates universal design for learning. And if you've heard me present before, you may have seen this before. So there's a person in a wheelchair on the left that says, could you please shovel the ramp? And the stairs and the ramp are snow covered. And the person shoveling says, all these other kids are waiting to use the stairs. When I get through shoveling them off, then I will clear the ramp for you. And the person in the wheelchair responds, but if you shovel the ramp, we can all get in. Clearing a path for people with special needs clears the path for everyone. So inclusive practices can be easy. Inclusive practices increase accessibility of all the material for all of the students. And inclusion shouldn't be the cherry on top, it's the ice cream. So that's part of universal design, where you build it from the bottom up, inherent in the design, just like this panel shows on the left here.
And what Angela just did by reading the entire comic and all the words is an example of an inclusive practice for people with visual impairments. So not all the things that we necessarily use online are accessible by screen readers. So this is just, again, another example of how to make, especially in online teaching, if you're using things with words, being able to identify the words with the symbols to promote accessibility at all levels. So universal design for learning. Oh, Angela, this was your slide. Go ahead.
Okay, that's fine. Universal design for learning. In the past year, many of us have come to realize that we're in a time of collective and societal trauma. The pivot, the word of 2020, was very sudden. So that caused trauma, it caused sustained trauma, and I think that we might be seeing it through even spring of 22 of some of the residual effects. So that's just the premise we come from, is recognizing that and recognizing that in our students. Many students have experienced personal loss, whether we know it or maybe we don't know it if they don't let us know. And they may need support too. In addition to your students with IFSPs, IEPs, 504 plans, there's going to be a lot more students that are going to need our support in the music classroom because of what we're going through right now. These students may not have IEPs, you might not even know about it, but using a universal design for learning perspective and approach to your teaching can really cast the net a little bit wider and encompass more students than you may even know that you need to really address. So we have udlguidelines.cast.org on the screen there. And that has a lot more information as well on universal design in general.
And just for those who don't know, IFSP stands for Individualized Family Service Plan. And this is what is given to children with disabilities and who are under 3, so birth to 3. IEP is Individualized Education Plan, and this starts with children from 3 forward, covering them all the way up, I believe, until 2021. And then 504 plans are a slightly different set of accommodations that don't necessarily require full special education learning plans, but these can be practices implemented in classrooms that help accommodate children who need their environment to be shifted a little bit differently, but don't necessarily need the content of what they're learning to be changed. So those are that's some of the language that was set up, and we want to make sure that we're all on the same page because we don't all know where we all are in terms of our baseline learning of inclusive practices. So there are 3 principles in UDL, and the first is to provide multiple means of engagement. And the multiple means of engagement is why you're learning something. We have affective engagement, which is the way that you are approaching this learning. We saw some lovely experiences of affective engagement in our morning's presentation. Our presenter was just wonderful with how well she was able to gather and maintain her students' attention. And so that is one very good representation of that. And hopefully we will be as engaging because we know that relationship is where you are gaining you're sparking your learners' desire to know more. If we don't have engagement on the part of the learner, especially with young children or students really of any age, if you're not invested in what is being taught to you or offered to you, you're not likely to want to engage in it. But we do need to understand and respect and accommodate individual differences. Some children prefer novelty. Some children need to circle the same concept in many different ways, in lots of novel experiences before they can dive deeply into that. But some children prefer routine and need to have the same presentation in the same way often. Some children prefer working in groups. Ideas are bouncing and you can get really interesting things happening, or you can kind of specialize. Well, so-and-so does this thing really well, but is maybe needs support in this way. So we're going to pair them up to have a complete project. Other students prefer to work alone because they prefer that solitary experience of creating something that they can then give back to the group. But the whole idea of providing multiple means of engagement allows for supporting self-regulation skills. We really do need to have that ability as the instructors facilitating this learning. Sorry, my family's really loud. Hold on. Just let's keep it low down here. Sorry. To help our students know how to manage their own energy levels and ability to remain regulated when challenged with what learning can actually do.
And Carolyn, you mentioned affecting engagement, and I think it's important to highlight too that we need to be excited about what we're teaching, because if we're not excited, they'll know that. So we need to show that affect too.
Right. Next slide. Found sound. Angela, do you want to do this one or shall I?
You can go for it.
Okay. So one of the ways that we can show affective engagement is to have an experience of finding sound in your environment. All right, folks, you're going to join along with me, and we're going to find some sounds right in our own space. All right, so you can get up and you can find anything that can make a sound, and then we're going to try it. So let's think. Hey, what do you say? Will you find some sounds with me today? Ba-dum, bum, bum, ba-dum. I have some ba-dum, bum, bum, ba-dum. Ba-dum, bum, bum, ba-dum, bum, bum, ba-dum. Hey, what do you say? Angela, can you share your sound today? Ba-dum. That sounds great. Hey, what do you say? I'm going to share my sound today. Ba-dum, bum, bum, ba-dum. Ba-dum, bum, bum, ba-dum. Ba-dum, bum, bum, ba-dum. Bum, bum, ba-dum. Hey, what do you say? I know you've got a sound. Let's play. Da-dum, bum, bum, ba-dum. Ba-dum, bum, bum, ba-dum. I see you there, ba-dum. Bum, bum, ba-dum. Bum, bum, ba-dum. I love all your different sounds. Now, switching back to teacher mode, if you were having an experience of identifying the substances of the sound, so you've got wood, you've got metal, you've got paper, you've got striking, you've got tapping, you've got scraping, you can address some of those musical concepts and those sound production concepts within what you see. So
The second principle of universal design is representation, providing multiple means of representation. So this is the what of learning. This is how learners perceive and comprehend information differently, making connections within and between concepts, providing options for representation of the material that you're teaching, and supporting comprehensive strategies. So as we said in the beginning with the cartoon that was there, it was visually depicted, and then I also read it out loud. So there's different ways that I represented that material for learners. Some students might need it spoken and might need it explained to them. Some might appreciate it visually. So Carolyn, it looks like it just, there we go. Okay. So this can include providing visual diagrams, charts, notation of music or sound, providing written transcripts for videos or for auditory clips, maybe ASL, American Sign Language, using visual representation for the emphasis and the prosody of your voice. So different emotions or different symbols. You can have a visual depiction for different emotions in the music. This is the what of learning. So it's important to know that students perceive things differently. My words to you right now, you can all be perceiving those differently. So the what of learning isn't just us presenting it through visual and auditory means. It's also recognizing that what I'm saying, you can all take in different ways as well.
Okay. I had to open the slides on a different screen so that I could see the speaker notes, so that's me. All right, so let's see how we can represent the topic or the concept, the musical concept of dynamics. What are dynamics? There's lots of different ways. Now, dynamics is the bigness or the largeness or the smallness of a sound. So let's take a look. Do you see on my screen the blue friend? Hold on, I think I have a little pointer thing. Here I do, I have a spotlight. I have a blue friend right here, all the way over on the right. Look, or the left, look how big his mouth is. Can I see how big your mouth can be? And look how big the sound is in their speech bubble. Okay, let's hear really big sounds. I promise mom and dad and caregiver, this will go quick. Really big sounds. Ah! Okay. Now, let's look at our green friend. Our green friend, their mouth is open, kind of normal, kind of like in the middle. Ready? In the middle. And they have a in the middle sound. So let's make an in the middle sound. Ready? Ah, 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 ah. All right. Now, our friend all the way over the triangle. I know you know that's a triangle because ready? 1, 2, 3 has a small mouth. Look at them. Can I see that part? Yes, I think I can. Yep. And their speech bubble is kind of small too. So let's make a smallish sound. Ready? Now, so we've got big, we've got in the middle, and we've got small. Now, from teacher perspective, you then have the opportunity to have your students try lots of different ways to show a big sound with their big bodies taking up lots of parts of the screen. And you can unmute if you choose. You can unmute 2 people at a time. You can unmute 1 person at a time. You can unmute a whole, one group for big, 1 group for in the middle, and 1 group for small. And you can then also have them represent this with the ways that they're going to move their scarves, ways that they're going to draw, or ways that they're going to move their bodies or use their voices. So that's lots of different ways to represent dynamics. If I were not tethered to my computer right now, I would make sure that I could stand so that you could see my whole body. For some of our neurodiverse learners, not seeing the parts of your body that should be there can be very disconcerting, because if you can't see my hands, do my hands actually exist? So when presenting in inclusive settings, I really try to make sure that my body is going to, can fit within the frame. So yes, waist up is probably okay, but if I were to stand, this would be a little disconcerting for some folks. So that, so think about that, and different devices have different panels. So try to keep your body within the space. I need to stop highlighting
stop doing that. And now I need to go to the next slide. Okay.
Okay, this is me. Here we are. Oh, Carolyn, I also wanted to say your tip there on the last one.
Thank you so much. That's right. Sometimes some of our students have a very difficult time with the screen. It can be very distracting. It can be it could be really uncomfortable to watch people on the screen. So one of the ways that you can still make music making applicable is to encourage the child to face the adult, and the adult interpret what's happening on the screen. So if everybody's doing this or doing whatever it is that you're doing, the child is seeing the adult that they have the relationship with doing it, so that and they can still hear because they can't turn off their ears, but they are able to put their focus on the adult in the room. So that is absolutely an accommodation, an inclusive practice that you can make. And the same with, oh shoot, it came in my head and then left my head. So I'll think of it later. Go ahead, Angela.
Okay, the third and final principle of universal design for learning is action and expression. So providing multiple means of action and expression. This is for the students to express to you what they know. And we all know that our students know much more than they're telling us or letting us know or showing us. There's so much more in there. So I always presume competence, as many of us do, hopefully all of us, and recognizing that students represent what they know in a lot of different ways. This could be AAC, this can be through drawing, this could be through moving, this could be through playing and singing. So this is the how of learning, the physical action. Multiple means of communication from the student, multiple tools for constructing meaning. Now, one lesson that I teach that I absolutely love is there's two contrasting pieces of music. So two contrasting pieces of music, and the students draw the first one, and then they draw the second one. And then we look at it, and maybe they turn to a neighbor and talk about their drawings and how they're different. Maybe they have a group of 4 and they talk about it. So they're drawing it, and then if they're comfortable, they're sharing it. And then maybe in another lesson, they're moving with scarves to the same piece of music. So you're hearing these two contrasting pieces over and over again, but they're engaging in different ways. So one student might be really comfortable drawing. One student might be really comfortable dancing. Others might be really comfortable using their words to describe what they know. So we never know what their preferred way might be with engaging with a particular type of music, which is why we want to offer them a lot of different options for action and expression. And technology is a big part of that. Technology is a key piece to universal design for learning.
Okay, here we go. Okay, will you join me? Here, I need to move my screen a little bit because, okay, you can't see my lap because I can't move my, oh wait, darn it. I think I can do it so that you can see my lap because this is going to be a little bit, hold on. Sorry, folks, forgive me. Okay, good. All right, so will you join me? Splishing and splashing and splishing and splashing, splishing and splashing and splishing and splashing. Oh, I like to sit in a nice hot tub, splishing and splashing and splishing and splashing, and I like to walk in the rain and the mud, splishing and splashing and splishing and splashing, and I like to play washing dishes in the sink, splishing and splashing and splishing and splashing, and I like to watch while my doggy takes a drink, splishing and splashing and splishing and splashing. Let's do that again, because maybe some of this is fun for you. Oh, I like to sit in a nice hot tub, splishing and splashing and splishing and splashing, and I like to walk in the rain and the mud, splishing and splashing and splishing and splashing, and I like to play washing dishes in the sink, splishing and splashing and splishing and splashing, and I like to watch while my doggy takes a drink, ruff, splishing and splashing and splishing and splashing. So this particular song you can do in lots of different ways. You can take suggestions from the people in your class, and you can change the animal. You can change all the different things to let them know, to give them opportunity to show you what they know. Some of our children are unable to verbalize their choices. So if you are lucky enough to have parents in the room, perhaps the parents can verbalize their choices for you or for their children so that you understand. But they may, and you could offer, show me a picture, or I have these pictures up on my screen. Which one should we do next? The and if you're looking at sort of the musical concepts of what you are trying to assess, if you're or determine if the children can exhibit, some people are looking at duple meter, some people are looking at triple meter. This is, a mixed meter chant. But if your child if the children that you are teaching have motor control concerns, then you need to find different ways to see how they can represent their awareness of the beat. So if they can't do it with their hands, but their bodies are moving toward the steady beat of the song, then that's an important observation piece for you to notice. We have a couple of videos. Angela, do you want to set this up?
I would love to. Okay, these are two little cherubs that come to my music classes, and these videos were sent to me by Mom. They took the splishing and splashing that we just did, and they took their rain boots and their umbrellas, and they went outside and did it, and Mom sent the video to me.
I hope the audio, oh.
I think you have to share your audio. Yeah.
Does that work?
Yes. Oh, maybe not. I'm not sure if I could hear it. Maybe it has to go louder.
I'm doing. It says at the end, my feet are getting really dirty. So, did that end up working audio-wise? No?
Quiet, but I think there's a next video too, where they decided to go to the street.
Yes. Hold on. Next video, guys. Mud. Okay.
And I like to play in the rain and the mud, splishing and splashing and splishing and splashing.
And I just want to highlight too, looking at them, good teaching is good teaching. So universal design is not just for your students with IEPs, as we said in the beginning. Good teaching is good teaching for all students, students who are gifted, students who have identified disabilities. You never know what techniques are going to reach which students the best. So they really liked this song, this mixed meter song. They really enjoyed it, and it was fantastic. They took their time, and Mom took a video and sent it to me, because sometimes we just don't know what happens after we say goodbye for the day. So this was a nice little window into their world.
Oh, I didn't mean to actually, hold on. Stop. Okay, hang on. I'm going to stop sharing for a second because I'm presenting things all over the place. It's getting very confusing.
Well, and also just to take a pause and step back, as I said, good teaching is good teaching, and it shouldn't take away from the learning of any of your other students. If you have
Right.
students with IEPs in your class, and universal design, to even back it up further, is a concept in architecture as well. So if you think of your curb cutouts, like those little cutouts when you go to the supermarket or into many public buildings, yes, it can help people with wheelchairs to get into the building, but that can also help a mom pushing a stroller or a musician who has a very large instrument on wheels or someone with a suitcase. It helps more than just your student who may need that because they're a wheelchair user. So I think that's important to highlight as well.
Right. Okay. So this next inclusive experience that we're going to show you is One Little Owl. And this is a bit of a use of technology that I would like to share. And now I need to actually share. No.
So this is the PowerPoint, Carolyn?
Yes, and
Okay.
yeah, I'll be sharing the PowerPoint, and I'm trying to,
That's okay. I can. So this PowerPoint is for the song One Little Owl. And if it's the one I'm thinking of, it was shared with me from a music therapy colleague in the Philadelphia area. So here we go.
okay, here we go. Um, all of you who know me know that I need to find the pitch. Hang on a second. Okay, thanks. All right. Will you help me find your owl eyes? Ooh, ooh. I see you. Let's do it again. Ooh, ooh. Do your owls blink? I'm sure they do. Ooh, ooh. One little owl says, "Who, who?" Two little owls say, "Who, who?" Now we're going to start that over because I forgot my pretty PowerPoint. Ready? Ready? Got your owl eyes? One little owl says, "Who, who?" There we go. Two little owls say, "Who, who?" Three little owls say, "Who, who?" As they sat in the old oak tree. One little squirrel said, two little squirrels said, three little squirrels say, as they sat in the old oak tree. Now, my chat is going a little bit strange if I can't see it. I'm sorry. One little crow said, "Caw, caw." Two little crows said, "Caw, caw." Three little crows said, "Caw, caw," as they sat in the old oak tree. One little, what is this? Cat said, "Meow, meow." Two little cats said, "Meow, meow." Three little cats said, "Meow, meow," as they sat in the old oak tree. One parent said, "Hold on tight." Two parents say, "Hold on tight." Three parents say, "Hold on tight," as they sat in the old oak tree. And the poor old tree said, "Oh no." The poor old tree said, "Oh no." The
Poultry said, oh no, all these things are sitting on me. And then we always end with a crash. I'm going to stop, and Angela, you're going to vamp so that I can get back to the other thing.
Sure. So I was saying that was shared by Amanda Cardinal, who's a music therapist at Easter Seals in the Philadelphia area. And we have others of those too. So use technology now that we're online, and even when we're back in the classroom, use technology like this. These are just some of our ideas. You don't have to do exactly what we do, but hopefully it will spark some interest and maybe give you some ideas of what you can do in your classrooms. So again, and Carolyn, chime in here on this slide, but the three principles are engagement, representation, and then action and expression. So again, we recruit the interest, and then there's perception, there's physical action from the students. And we want to sustain the effort and persistence. Did you mention your cookie example with the siblings?
I didn't, though I should. So my cookie example is I really need to learn how to count. And the reason I need to learn how to count is because I need to know how many cookies I have. If I have the same number of cookies that my sister has, then that's good. So that's my motivation for learning how to count.
So sustaining the effort and persistence and having them engaged in why do they need to know this? Why is this going to help me in real life? And then the language and symbols of representation, as you saw on our slides with the loud, quiet, and expression and communication. And then self-regulation, we regulate each other. We co-regulate. We all know this in our classrooms. So self-regulation, and we can help them with that, especially in the music classroom. Comprehension, and then finally with executive function. So Carol Ann, is there anything that I missed on this slide? Oh,
so I don't think that you missed anything, but I would like to add a couple of interesting things that we need to consider when we're teaching. It's really okay to get out of your chair and to show your whole body. And also, it's important to remember that our children, just because they're home, just because they need to be in front of a screen, does not mean that they need to stay seated. This is actually in our traditional classrooms when we're teaching in person. One of the accommodations for inclusive teaching practices is to allow children to get up and move and have sensory breaks, to be able to stand while learning, to be able to circle the back of the room when you're teaching your math class, because that's how, when they move, they can absorb information. The same thing should be allowed in online teaching, particularly if music is your medium. Sitting in front of a screen is an unnatural position for many people to be in, especially our young children, and allow them and encourage them and invite them to be around your room. Check in when you are, we know from our neurodiverse colleagues and friends and students that requiring eye contact, look at me in the eyes so I know that you're paying attention, is actually a barrier to learning. And because for some people, needing to focus their attention here means that they're not able to focus on what you're trying to the knowledge you're trying to impart or the experience you're trying to provide. So one of the things that I encourage you to consider is this idea of visual referencing. So they could be here doing the thing that you want them to do. They're being musical. I can see, John or Joan they're moving their backs in a rhythmic way. I know. And then every so often they visually reference you, or they visually reference the thing that you are showing. And that is a way for you to note that they are attending to what you're doing, because they still can't turn off your ears unless they've muted you, in which case, I'm sorry, that's you need help from the other end. But go ahead, Angela. I see you have.
No, I taught a class this morning, and I could tell that I was dropping into a challenging moment at home. And the child was sometimes with us and sometimes away, and mom was there, and I said, can she hear me? She's like, yeah. Said, then we're fine, because mom, I'm like, don't push her to come back. And then she came back and played with us a little bit, was so happy, so excited, and then wandered away again. And I just kept saying, it's okay. It's okay. And that was giving mom permission to say, okay, my child's okay. I don't have to chase after her this time. So.
Right. And as long as mom or the adult in the room is engaging with their child using the prompts that you are perhaps offering them, then that's fine. That's actually really, really important, because we are not the most important person. The people on the screen, it's the people in the room who are the most important people. And here, our next slide is really.
Carolyn, before you go on, there was a question back for the owl song.
Okay.
What are the goals that you're working on and the intent of that?
Okay. So the intent, well, where do you want to start? There's so many. First, it's if you're looking at how the sort of the plurality of the songs that we offer in early childhood music, it highly skews in this culture for major tonalities and duple meters. One Little Owl is an example of a minor song, and it's still duple, but it's another, it adds to your minor tonality repertoire. Counting. It could be animal identification. It could be a substitution song. You can pause the song at any place, at any position along the way, and say, okay, what else goes in our tree? And then you can have any number of things in the tree. So you've got that. It's a story. It's a basic story song. So you can talk about sequencing. You can talk about beginning, middle, and end. Angela, what am I missing?
No, and just Rhoda says steady beat. Yes, the steady beat in the song. As Carolyn said, the tonality of it, because at least for my repertoire, I intentionally try to increase non-major and non-duple songs that I offer. But also, if you notice in that one, it was on the screen. We sang the name. We sang the sounds the animal made, and then there was a motion to it, or a sign to it. So if students want to participate and ask for another animal to include in that song, they can do it in a number of ways. They could point, they could sign, they can say the name of it, they can make that caw. So there's ways of them to engage with that too. But yes, steady beat, minor song. Yeah.
There's also the opportunity, if the intent of the work that you do is to increase or continue music engagement at home, the homework that can happen is draw or cut out a picture of, or make a mom or dad or adult caregiver make a video of a different animal that can be part of our tree. And then that is part of what is encouraged for the next time. And ideally, whatever music you have that is engaged, that your students have access to when they're with you, they would also have access to when they're not with you. So then hopefully in your communication with the classroom teacher or the parent or whomever the child spends most of their time with, you are able to provide that information to them so that they can revisit this topic, revisit this song later.
And in the chat too, I agree. I have also seen children losing their patience and attention because of the pace of songs too. That's why we try to vary it within the song and within the context of your whole lesson. So maybe you're doing a higher energy dancing song, and then maybe one that's sitting and using visuals and all these principles of universal design. And then maybe your next one is playing instruments and up and dancing again. So it's really how you position it in your whole lesson too that will help. But that will happen. That will happen. They're going to lose attention and come back in. So that sustained effort and persistence. It's not necessarily sustained attention that can kind of come in and out, but sustained effort and persistence there.
Thank you. So in this online experience through this whole global pandemic, we have to remember that we need to provide the adults that we are in collaborative relationships with some support. I don't want not to put too fine a point on it. This has been very traumatic and sudden changes, and now we're into pandemic fatigue, that we need to remember that the other adults that we have in this education experience are our partners, and we need to support them in the best way that we can. And it feels maybe like, oh, they should be just doing this anyway, but when you've been faced with chronic stress, which is what we've all been experiencing this last 13 months, we can't always keep all the things in our minds, and we kind of have to present information in smaller, more digestible chunks more frequently over time so that we can feel, so that we can remain competent and feel confident in the work that we do. And if music class is the time that the children feel confident and competent in their life, then we should help the adults to help the children still maintain that sense of confidence and competence. So this slide talks about how we can support our teachers and adult caregivers. The first is to acknowledge and encourage adult participation. When I zoom into a classroom and I'm the music specialist, I see the teachers, I see the paraprofessionals, and I see all the little students in their boxes, and they're really adorable. Acknowledge that the adults are there and that they are doing what I'm doing. This is so great. It's really important, my teacher friends, that we all do this same thing together, because when us grown-ups are doing the same things that all together, it invites the participation. It's that affective engagement that encourages our students to also participate, especially if the adult is doing it in such a way that encourages, not like, I'm doing it now, you do it. We all are this is what we're doing. This is not the thing. We are looking at developing relationships and continuing that positive interaction between teachers and their students. At the same token, by the same token, we also can give permission to these same adults to let the children be independent. Not all of the movement has to happen in the same way. And this is particularly specific to parents when they're making music with their children and they're in the same room. Some parents find it really exciting and important that their child hits the drum the same way we're hitting our drum, and that isn't always necessarily the case. It's really okay, parents, in that situation to, I see what you're doing there. That's wonderful. Yep, you're helping your child experience the steady beat by having them do the same thing I'm doing. Here's another way to do it. What about if you tap the beat on your child's back gently? They are getting the idea of the steady beat, but then they still have full control of their arms. So let's see what happens if you try that. Or, I see what you're doing there. You're tapping the steady beat and your child is moving in a different way. What happens if you do the steady beat on your own body and see what the child does? So we're staging and giving permission to the adults to allow their children to do things to be independent in their own expression of music making. Now, this third bullet is let the adults know when you need adult intervention. This is particularly concerning safety or facilitating. If you're looking at perhaps having a child reach with a mallet on one side of their body to something over here on the other side of their body, then mom or dad, could you please be the cymbal holder over here and hold this thing over here so that your child can hit the cymbal over here? And that is a really concrete way for parents to feel or to know that they have a job. Remember that again, to just reinforce that idea of children needing to be in front of the screen all the time, because that's how we know that they're participating. This is not the thing. This is not the case. And so, parents, if your child is still circling the room, even though I can't see them, be musical with them where they are. And I am trusting you that is happening and we are all fine. I remember now what I wanted to say before, that it didn't happen. Sometimes we need to remember that some of our families are not, they don't approach technology with a sense of equity. And sometimes they need to turn off their video in order for their audio to work well, because they don't have bandwidth enough for both. There may be many people tapping into that same Wi-Fi signal so that if you can't see them, don't assume that they are not participating. And some may have concerns about the state of the space that they are in. And that may be also another reason they're not showing their screen. So don't assume that they are just hanging out, not doing anything, but help them to remember or provide opportunities for them to participate by allowing them to unmute and tell me what's happening there. Or I'd love to see a suggestion from you in the chat. That would be lovely. And the fourth point is, some of our classroom teachers have a very good sense of who needs to have leadership opportunities. And so if I were to do something like One Little Owl and wanted them to have leadership opportunities, okay, I need somebody to be our squirrel today. Mrs. Smith, could you please help me? Who should be our squirrel leader today? Provide resources, songs, and knowledge that they can implement easily. This can be, again, a list of the song resources that you've used. Some people choose to create different supportive documents. We did One Little Owl today, and it's a great song for substitution and animal identification or back and forth play. They write up a few sentences and then send it home to the parents. And that is another way to present information that helps families feel engaged, and teachers to reinforce the curricular concepts that they're doing during music class in the other areas of their curriculum. And of course, since we are pushing in often to classrooms, it is really important for us to consider including what the curricular goals are in the classroom at large in the music class. I recently did a lesson plan for an online preschool class where their whole week was dedicated to exercise. So I did my whole class standing, and we did so much exercise that it was so great. And they didn't even realize they were doing exercise. But the teachers were able to see, okay, here is how we had supported all the work that we were doing, and we did stretching and breathing and the whole nine. So that's it. That is, these are our thoughts. They are 6 points for supporting teachers and adult caregivers. So Angela, do you want to take this one?
Sure. Okay. So we've had opportunities over the past year for asynchronous learning as well. And there's a tremendous amount of resources out there for asynchronous learning. The top one I really like, and there's some links as well on the last slide, but I like this one because you notice it shows tap your knees and clap your hands, visually depicting it, but you see the second beat is highlighted yellow. So if you were to play this video, it highlights each beat as you go along, and visually it's easy to see, and it says at the end it's going to repeat 8 times. So this is a nice visual depiction of moving to the music, and this one's Sir Duke. The one on the bottom has 3 different levels to it. So you can see it says clap along with the names of the instruments, and it's trombone and bass. So there's different levels to this one. You can clap the rhythm. You can, on the next level, tap your foot and clap. And then also there's instruments that you can use. You could tap your drumsticks. So tap, tap, and then play on the drum. And I like this because you can scaffold it up. Students have multiple access points, whether they want to keep clapping, whether they want to use different areas of their body, tapping their knees, tapping their foot, or clapping, or if they want to use instruments. So the second one has a little bit of a busy background to it, and it's a little bit harder to read, but I like how that's scaffolded up. And do you want to take this one, Carolyn?
No, you can do it.
Okay. So on the left, Ellery Draper published a piece. That one is in the NAFME journal, General Music Today, by the National Association for Music Education, NAFME. And it's about teaching music remotely, strategies for students with disabilities. And you can see the publication date is 2021, so it's fairly current. And then the next 2 were from the Early Childhood ECMMA publication. There's music and print resources. Now, someone asked about AAC before, and I can share. I have my iPad here, so if I can finagle that after we finish this, I can show you an example of that. But we have picture symbols that can be used. The 2 links to the videos, screenshots that we showed. And then some of the songs we used today were from the Family Favorites Volume 1, so there's a link to that for Music Together. In the right-hand column, there are links to the creators of those online videos, so you can see more of their content. And then there are some apps there in the Chrome Music Lab. So Carolyn, do you want to talk about the app and the Chrome Music Lab?
Yeah. So the Chrome Music Lab is, first I'll talk about the Hello Everybody app. Now, this is available on both the
Android.
iTunes, Apple, and Android, right, words. And it comes populated with a bunch of songs that you can use and enjoy. What I really find accessible about this, and they're free, it's they're just part of the app. What I really like about this is it has a karaoke function so that you can see the words at the bottom of the screen while it's singing along. And there's a microphone slider so you can fade out the lyric support so that you can still see the words, but you can sing along to the what essentially is the music -1 track, which I thought was super fun. And you can take a video while you're doing it, and it's a selfie, and it's the singing, and you've got, so it's super, super fun. The what, Angela? I saw you.
The Chrome Music Lab, I see in the chat that we're previewing. There's a session in 2 weeks that's going to include some of that. So maybe we can tease it a little bit here.
Okay, so the teasing is there are very interesting ways to collaborate together with multiple people. If one person starts the Chrome lab of virtual piano playing, you can then share that link with each student in your class, and they can all join, and you can all play the same keyboard at the same time, which is a recipe for overwhelm, but it's super fun. Because then what I noticed is that there's a slide after you're done creating your group composition, you can start at the top of the screen with the slider that's now at the top of the right-hand corner of the screen, and then slide it slowly or quickly, and you can hear what everybody has played, and which I thought was pretty cool. Yeah. And they have an interesting rhythm play along experience too, and it's not all duple. Some of it is in 5 and some of it is in 7, and it has sort of programmed rhythms, but also the ability to remove and replace different sounds, different percussion sounds that will play on a loop that you can then jam to. So I thought it was super cool.
There's some information in the chat too. Different people can use different instruments. Thanks, Lisa.
Yeah.
And Julie said she just started using Chrome Music Lab this month in person classroom music situation. It's super accessible to learning styles, group work, individual composition. It's very versatile. Yes, that's why we included it in the session.
Yep. And this, of course, the last link on the right bottom corner of the screen is the Universal Design for Learning website. Please don't forget that. That is really important. So this is how to reach us. Angela is very much more accessible. Thank you very much. I know we have time for questions. Rhoda,
so I'm gonna see, I'm not sure if I can share my my iPad here, but I did want, yes, I can. I wanted to show the AAC, and let's see. And then I know there was at least one question in the chat that I can address with the One Little Owl song too. So we'll see how this goes. Hey, looks like we might be in business here. And I know that Lisa Pierce Goldstein's on the call, and she's a speech language pathologist, and she can chime in too if she wants to. But this is ProLoquo. This is the app I use. As I mentioned, Universal Design incorporates a lot of technology so that students can express what they know in any way that they can. So if you know the song Down by the Bay, I'm just pressing my finger on the iPad in front of me. Down by the Bay. And then here we open up to a menu of songs, of options. So Down by the Bay, maybe the cloud is taking a shower. So this is an example of that, just to show you some of what I use. Okay. Hello, Lisa in the chat there.
First of all, can we just thank our two impromptu saving the day presenters, both of whose work I'm deeply familiar with and very grateful for, and very grateful for you stepping in today. So huge thank you. Woohoo. Rhianon had a family emergency. The good news is her presentation will be recorded, and I will send it out to all of you because she worked at CAST. So she comes from Universal Design for Learning, from the source. So it'll complement what we saw today brilliantly well. We do have time for questions, and I can monitor the chat if there are, or the Q&A, if there are questions for our presenters. And then what I thought we'd do after that is I'll show you those 2 Google Docs I was talking about earlier so that everybody knows what we're looking at and we're all clear on that.
So I know there was one earlier about incorporating slower songs. And what I do is if I find I'm losing their attention, going back to that one little owl example, and we have cheetahs that run really fast and we have snails that go really slow. So you don't have to think of it as a slow song. If you want to sustain their attention, that might mean that you use faster animals and slower animals and vary within the song and give them a choice. Should we go faster or should we go slower? And give them a choice too. So I hope that helps to answer that question.
I also think that where you position songs within your lesson plan or your session plan plays a very large role in their joint attention and sustained attention. If you look at your lesson plan design, and you are also having to gauge what you see in your room, your virtual or your in-person room. If you've got, your kids, they're just coming off of something where they've sat for a really long time, they need a brain break. They need the ability to get up and move. So you may begin music time with a get up and move kind of experience. So with a lot of proprioceptive input, so we're talking stomping and pushing and jumping and hopping on one foot, and all with the beat of the song or the micro beat of the song, and then be able to then with planned purposeful breaths, let's do that again. One more time, reaching up, and letting your breath out, and then sitting slowly down onto the ground. You now have bought about 7 minutes of focused attention, which is where one little owl might go. So you have to kind of look at your own energy, the energy level of your lesson plan arc in order to be able to make that happen well.
Here's a question. How would you go about planning a 30 to 40 minute session in terms of the pace of the class?
Ooh, okay. So I see you start slow, middle is fast, and end high. So I like, teachers don't like it when you give students back to them and they're up here. So
Yeah, that's
I always try to bring them back down again at some point. Carolyn, do you want to talk a little bit about the structure that we use?
Right. So especially if you have had your peak energy and then had time to calm down some, then what you're allowing the classroom teacher to do is transition very nicely into this, we're going to do guided reading and sight words now. So they've got that you've parlayed their level of internal energy. What is that word? Words in my head. Their internal state of arousal, so that they can you've left them in a good place for them to absorb more information.
And
your question about teaching music to deaf students at the high school level, we have someone who's going to be working with us in a future session who has that exact expertise. So let's hold that one until then.
Yeah, and also, I mean, you want to think of that 30 to 40 minutes here, and you have your greeting and you have your closure, but within it, there should be a few smaller peaks. It shouldn't just be, let's climb the mountain and then give them back to their classroom teachers. So that helps to sustain attention as well as when you come up here and then maybe you sit back down and to remember that within the song, they can be sitting, they can be up, and they can come back down within the song itself.
Right. So you're approaching one song often in 3 or 4 different ways to vary the level of energy and engagement within the song. You are not relying solely on technology, but you are sprinkling it in where it feels the most useful and where you're going to get the highest level of engagement, and also optimizing the opportunity for the adults to then say, oh, this is something I can do when I need to do something musical and it's not music time. So you're providing all of these things as a resource to the teachers and the adults, and also an enriched experience for the children in the room.
Beautiful. So seeing that there's oh, we've got a question. Another question. No, Kevin, in fact, quite the opposite, right? Quite the opposite. But they can say it better. So I'll let you take that.
So I'm just going to go back to the universal design for learning. So, and show that screen again. Where is it? Multiple ways of representation. Right. Right. So let me share my screen. You're not diluting the information when you present it in multiple ways. It's the whole point of design for learning. You have to provide many different opportunities for them to see and experience the material that you're presenting, because we don't just all take it in one way. If you've got kinesthetic learners and you've got auditory learners and you've got visual learners all in the same room, but you only teach to the visual learners, you have missed 2/3 of your class.
And
so
yeah, the same thing with students who like to work individually and then in groups. So you want to vary that too. So, and keep the questions coming. That's great. Yeah.
The other thing is, no matter what kind of learner you are, taking in information in more than one way makes it stick and have more of a web of connections for you cognitively and experientially. So for example, I am super auditory and not visual at all in the way that I learn best, but having both of those forms of input is stronger for me than even just the auditory, although the auditory feels more comfortable generally. So if you want learning to really stick, we want all those many different ways.
Right. I'm looking again at the chat in terms of, so right, when you co-opt the attention of all of the senses, as many senses as possible, you are firing up the brain in multiple ways. So music is the only external stimulus that fires up the brain more evenly than anything else that you're going to do. And this is particularly important when you remember the fact that some of our students with disabilities don't always have volitional control over their muscles. They may not be able to have their mouths make the sounds that they want to say, or move their bodies in the way that they want to move them to represent what they can see. But when you're presenting auditory stimulation in the form of music, everything in their brain is happening. You're priming their brain for learning, so that when you really want to be firing on all cylinders, so that whatever information you're giving them can be encoded, myelinated, and those neural pathways are established in a solid and persistent way.
Beautifully said. I want to take this moment to thank our two phenomenal pinch hitters who are superstars, and just thank you, thank you, thank you. And okay, so secondary is again going to be something that other presenters are going to focus on. So Tracy, I'm going to ask you to hold that question till we work with our secondary folks, which come as soon as April 3rd, but also on April 17th. So you'll have lots of opportunity for that. I want to thank our phenomenal presenters. And there were a lot of questions that were coming about these Google Docs that some people seem to be on the train of, and some people are not on the train of. So I want to take a few minutes and clarify all of that. And we'll end up taking off a bit on the early side today. That's fine. Carolyn has already sent me the document to share from this session. Rhiannon is going to send me a video. That will take a bit. That probably won't come on Monday, but as soon as I get it, I will send it on to all of you so you can learn from Rhiannon, who, as I said, worked at CAST, the organization that is the birthplace and real research hub of Universal Design for Learning. So she has an amazing amount to share with you, and we'll move forward. So I'm going to share. I pulled up the Google Docs so we could see them. So, and I love how when you do this, they put that little tab on the top so you can't move anything around. Okay, here we go. So after each session, I will be sharing a document that looks like this, between session engagement after March 6th session. This is the one that I sent on Monday, March 8th. And this is a place for you to write your name and then write your response. Reflect on what you learned about neurodiversity this week. What ideas were new to you? What do you want to remember from the session for your teaching practice? And so different people have written in their thoughts, and I have responded. I go back to the document and I respond in purple. So you'll see that this is what people are doing, and you too can do this. You can write into the table. When I see that we're running out of cells, I add cells. Some of you have added cells because you've gotten there before me. You see there's some that I haven't responded to yet, which is great. And here's where you would fill in the new cell. You would put your name here and your response here. Get it? All I did was type. So I'm going to take out my stuff because we don't need it there, but you get the idea. So that's the between session engagement. This is the project ideas sheet that I sent. And this will be the same one. I'll keep sending it. And this is your name and your ideas and thoughts about what your project might be. Some people had one idea, some people had 2 or 3 that they were thinking of, some people aren't sure yet, but they put in their thoughts. And again, I responded in purple. And it's the same sort of thing. So if we go to the bottom, you can see there's some I haven't responded to yet, that you would type your name here and some ideas about what you want your project might be. And we're not married to this, but we're thinking about it. What about your current teaching situation would you want to explore with what you're learning in the study group? So that's one thing that came up in questions. Another thing that came up in questions was around the sharing of the projects. And I want to just go back to that PowerPoint, which I will also share with you again. I've shared it with you last time. I can share it again. And if I go back to the slide, so the idea is that you are taking some aspect of what you learn here and applying it to your own situation. These are just a few examples. There are many other possibilities. And I can't dictate this because I don't know what your situation is, and I don't know what you need most to explore. Remember that these are works in progress. In 12 weeks' time, it is not possible to create a finished tie on a bow, neat project. We understand that. So I want to take a little bit of time here. So different projects have different deliverables, and this of course depends on what you're doing. So on May 15th, we're going to have the opportunity to present our projects and have some feedback from me and Vicki. And when I say present, I mean very brief, under 10 minutes, and if possible, 5 minutes or less. It might be a short slideshow that you present. You might have a short video. You might give a short oral presentation. You might have something that you've written. This depends on what you were investigating and how you best want to share it. And Vicki and I will provide feedback. And as I said, if you can't attend a synchronous session on that day, but would like to share your project and get feedback, if you send it to me, and I'll remind you all of this, but if you send it to me beforehand, I will share it on that session and make sure that it gets feedback. So that's how the project deliverables work. And it's good to start thinking about it early. I know you don't know yet all that you're going to encounter in these sessions, although you know the topics because you've got the list. But start thinking about what is going to be most useful for you and for your students and for your work. So that's what all that is about. I can share that slideshow with you again, but I wonder if there are questions about projects or deliverables or any of those logistical things that I can answer at this juncture. So I'll give it a moment and see if anything comes up in the chat. Or the Q&A. Getting the impression that we're pretty clear, but I'll wait a little bit longer. It takes a while to type things. All right. You can also email me if you have questions, but start bubbling these ideas in your head. So we are ending a bit on the early side today. We have a Q&A that just came in. In order to receive credits for the course, do you need to submit the responses to, so that's about presentation. You have to do all of it. In order to receive full credit for this course, and first of all, when you say the credits, that's not really accurate. This course is not a course that is taken for credit. Rather, it's a course where we give a certificate of participation that is professional development points in Massachusetts and may be applicable to your setting. It is not graduate credits. But in order to have full participation, and this is on one of those slides, you need to spend 18 hours in these sessions. It can be synchronously or asynchronously or both. It can be level 1 or level 2 or both. But you need to spend 18 hours doing that. You need to complete the between session engagement for each session. So for all of the sessions, and then you need to create and have a project that is presented. And I have a question here. So you want to collect folk songs and create instructional materials. While that is an extremely useful thing to do, I don't see a direct overlap between that and the work of this study group. So what I'm asking for the project is that it's some aspect of what we're doing here, teaching music to students with disabilities in some aspect that we're exploring here. So based on what I'm reading here about just collecting folk songs and creating instructional materials, I don't yet see the connection. If the instructional materials are for integrated settings or settings with students with disabilities, and you're going to be creating specific materials for those students, then I think we're talking. Does that make sense? Teaching using the folk songs, again, how is it relating to students with disabilities? That's what I most need to understand. Use the project ideas sheet. I can give you written feedback there, but we're looking for that some aspect of this study group, which is about teaching music to students with disabilities, is what you're applying, okay? Any other questions? I feel like we might be good. Okay, so with that, I am going to thank our amazing improvising presenters who bailed us out unknowingly and brilliantly at the last moment, and let you know that on Monday you will get an email from me with the recordings from both sessions, with the handouts and slide decks from both sessions, and with the links to the between session engagement for after this session, the project ideas sheet that we just saw, the slideshow with the logistics that I've just shown you, and that will come on Monday, probably in 2 separate email messages, because some of your email servers have been kicking back messages with attachments, so I need to make them smaller. So probably spread over 2 email messages. And later in the week, we should have the video from Rhianon, and I will send that as soon as I receive it. So I want to thank everybody for hanging in. I want to thank yet again, our fabulous presenters today. I want to thank all of you for your time and attention, and wish you a wonderful remainder of your weekend. Thank you all very much, and take good care, and we'll be in touch. Bye-bye.